Hello everyone, welcome. This is Surtur from Slytherin back this week with another episode of our weekly streaming sessions. This week we'll be having a look at Mark H. Walker's Lock and Load Heroes of Stalingrad, and we're doing this in celebration of the 1 year anniversary of the release of this game. What we're also doing in celebration of the anniversary of this game is that we do a week-long sale on this game. So if you're interested by what you're going to see here tonight, go to the product page link down below this video, have a click, and you can pick this game up for a very nice price for this week. Right, so Mark H. Walker's Lock and Load Heroes of Stalingrad is a turn-based strategy game, a very tactical game, designed by Mark Holt Walker himself, who has just joined us in the Twitch chat. Welcome, Mark Walker. So glad you could make it. As I said, Mark Walker is the designer of Heroes of Stalingrad and of many other board games, and he'll be able to answer any questions you might have regarding the game, the design philosophy, or anything else. And he'll also be here to point out any mistakes I might make, be it technically or tactically, hopefully making you and me wiser for it. So, today we're gonna start a small scenario, show you the basics of the game. We're right here into the main menu of the game. The game features two campaigns, as we're gonna see here. One for the Germans, one for the Soviets, with each a great deal of missions. And to jump in directly, the game features also a number of single scenarios, quite a bunch actually. Each can be played from both sides. Of course, the game features a multiplayer mode, which uses the Slytherin PBM system, which makes it very convenient to play online. And there's also an editor, although it should be said, actually, the game warns you itself for it. It's quite complicated and undocumented, but if you're not one of the faint of heart, you can jump in and create your own content, actually, for this game. So, as I said, we're going to play a short introductory scenario, take you through the basics of the game, show you a bunch of stuff, and give you a very good impression of what the game is about and the type of gameplay you can expect. So we're going to scroll down here and we're going to click on a partisan defense, and we're going to play this scenario from the German side. A Soviet offensive has broken through the German lines. Emboldened by Soviet success, local partisans have risen and seized control of the city. This, of course, is unacceptable, and if we let these partisans live, then it will inspire more revolts such as this. So it is our job to recapture the headquarters and crush the revolt. Very well. So as you can see here, we can select the side we wish to play. We're going to play the default setting. We're going to play as the Germans. We're going to play against the Soviet Union. Let's begin. Alright, so immediately we can see the dice is rolling. This is to decide the initiative, or who has the first turn, basically. In this case, the Soviet Union wins the initiative. The red dice, of course, representing the Soviet Union. So they'll be playing first here. So the game is turn-based, and each turn is divided into several phases, being a rally phase, a movement and battle phase, and a logistic or an end phase. And these are, again, the main phase is divided into different impulses, meaning that every turn you can move more or less one stack or shoot one stack. This depends very much on how it's organized. In some cases you can move and shoot more, but we're going to get over that in detail, over these details in a second. First we're going to have a look at our army itself. This is our group. We got a number of squads. I can select them just by right clicking. I can hover over them for more detailed information. On each squad we can see a great deal of numbers. The first number on the bottom left indicates the firepower of the squad, or its effectiveness in combat, essentially. The second number indicates the range the squad actually has, or how the range of the weapon it fires. And the third one indicates the movement points or movement value of the squad, so how far can it move itself. The number we see here in the top right is the morale, and this of course dictates if unit gets shaken or will otherwise be unable to battle. We can see that this unit consists of 2 stacks, whereas actually it's 1 stack with an additional weapon attached to it, an MG giving extra firepower. Alright, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to look at what do we have to do in this scenario. There are a couple of victory hexes we have to claim, mainly the ones glowing in white. So we got one here, hex K5 or Kilo 5, and we got the headquarters of the rebels, of the partisans over here. So these 5 hexes will have to be taken within 8 turns. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and move up my army using cover and see if we can detect some of the enemies, see if we can locate their positions, and get into a good position to start the battle. So I'm going to select Lieutenant Koch here, just again left clicking. All of these are currently selected, so it's a lieutenant with 2 squads, and one of them has a flamethrower attached to it, and another has a satchel charge set attached to it. So these can be quite powerful, especially in close quarters. We want to move them up here to M6, but as you can see, if I right click, it takes them over the basic road. Now this is of course not ideal. Traveling across the open road leaves you very vulnerable to opportunity fire, which is a mechanic that's definitely in game here. So the enemy might be waiting for me somewhere, might be waiting to ambush me, and as soon as I cross that open road, I might start firing, leaving me rather defensive, or at least out in the open. So I'm going to try and move up in a more secret way. You can queue up orders. So I'm going to move them one by one to the north, and you can see that the movement value has dropped from 6 to 0. Normally, these units can move only 4. I've only movement value of 4. However, it is boosted by the presence of the commander here, which is why you can see it has a square around it in red. You can also see that the moved tag was put on the counter, so this unit has moved and this impulse is finished. So having done that, we're going to press finish and let the enemy do its move. The enemy is playing relatively cautiously for now. They're probably waiting in their buildings to ambush me. It must be said that the AI in this game is extremely challenging. The AI, the mission design make together for a fairly difficult game, especially on the higher difficulty settings. So if you like very challenging games, this is definitely one to try. So this unit I can no longer move for the duration of this turn, so I have to move some of my other units up. I'd like to get Lieutenant Woods here into position to F5, so I'm going to move them slowly and see if we can get some enemies scouted. And here we see the enemy, and they immediately start shooting at me as soon as I come inside using their opportunity fire rule. And we can see a breakdown of combat here. So they fire, they throw a dice, and the value of the dice is added to an existing number of modifiers, meaning that how strong is the group that is firing? Are there additional units? Is there a hero in the presence which gives extra values? Are there support weapons being used? Is there a leadership bonus, etc., etc.? So these add up to a total number, and when I click, my defending dice is being thrown and added to my bonuses, which in this case is only 1. Though not a very bad one. Being in a stone building gives you obvious defense, a defense boost. Still though, their number exceeds my number. I got a total of 8 where they were about 10. So I am getting possible damage. And now a dice is being thrown to decide the amount of damage I'm receiving. With the damage check modifier +2 and the throw of 4, it doesn't reach the the number needed to actually get me the damage. So in this case, I get off lucky with no effect, so my unit remains full effectiveness. The second unit, also again no effect. We can see them here. They switch. They check for each unit if damage is received, and if so, what kind of damage. And again here, no effect. So I got off quite lucky at the start, suffering no casualties in the first shootout. Having done that, I finish my impulse. Yes, for those of you who don't like to see the dice being thrown around, don't like to wait for the animation, these are things that can be turned off in the options menu. You can pretty much play the game to your own liking, really, with several options to personalize your experience. So we move this guy into position. We got our troops here in position. Time and try and move up these lads here. One squad with a MG34 attached, and ideally I'd like to get them in this building here. Trying to move them a bit through cover, and again, as soon as they arrive, they're being fired upon, although with a much less potent enemy than were over here in the hex of D4. And with a much lower dice roll as well, so there's a fairly good chance, even with a dice roll of 3, that there is no effect going on. The enemy is again being cautious, just reacting for now, which leaves me to decide how to move up these lads here, and if I want to move them up at the same time or split them up between the different sections I already have in place. These guys are both armed with attachments, making them very potent in combat indeed. So I'm going to try and move them up together, have a nice force to fire with. Although I won't be able to make it, I think, directly into the cover here, into the rubble, because as you can see, different terrain types have different costs of movement. So I'm going to have to be a bit more cautious and try to move them up behind Lieutenant Koch. And even there, as soon as they cross the road, they get spotted, they get fired upon with a dice throw of 5, giving me possible damage and giving me casualties immediately. And shaken. So I took quite a pounding here for a couple of squads there that were just waiting for me, or actually one squad, one hero, and a anti-tank gun attachment. And we can see that one of my squads has been turned over into a half squad, and one of my other squads is now shaken. So both of them are not moving for this time now. So one option I could do now is to move in my medic and see if my medic is able to, in the next couple of turns, to be able to help them recover their organization. So there we have it. We move the medic up there. At the start of next turn there will be a rally phase, and the medic would perhaps be able to rally some of these units here. And they're opening fire on Lieutenant Koch's squad now with a good dice throw, although we're quite defended. So even with a throw of 2, we still match their attacking power in defensive force, so their fire is to no effect. Very well pointed out by Mark here. The half squads we can see here have only one guy on the counter. The full squads have 2, so you can very quickly identify which are the half squads, which are the full squads. Worthwhile to point out. Thank you. So having done this, we got our mortar team to use as well. None of my enemies is probably within direct line of fire, and there's an easy line of sight tool. There's an easy check the line of sight between 2 hexes. So I got my mortar squad selected here, and with the line of sight tool, I can check which units are in line of sight, and when the line of sight is broken, indicated by the red line. I was hoping to be able to hit these guys, but without a direct line of sight, as you can see, there is no clear, so I won't be able to fire. So what to do with the mortar team then? We're just going to have them stay put for now until another opportunity is there to use them. Another way to use mortars is using indirect fire, by letting one of your leaders actually call for fire, which is indicated by this button here, the fire for effect button. Although, because all my leaders have been activated this turn already, I'm not able to do that. Thanks for the correction there, Mark, regarding the medic. They'll be able to heal, not so much rally as the way a leader does. The leader will be able to rally everyone in a hex, whereas a medic is only able to heal one of the counters or one of the groups present in the stack. So we passed our turn, the enemy passed their turn, we're going to pass again, and after 3 passes the next turn starts, and we're going to roll another initiative dice. In this case, again, won by the Soviet Union. And here we have some reinforcements in the form of a armored car. And the medic morale check fails, so unable to help any of the squads in the stack, which is very unfortunate. And on top of that, they're immediately being fired upon, although with a very low number. And we have a very high defensive number, so their fire is to no effect. Now you might notice that these guys here are actually bright, whereas these lads whom we spotted earlier are dark shaded. This means that we know that they are in this hex, but we haven't actually spotted them this turn. So we're not quite sure where they are within this hex. As such, we won't be able to just start hitting on them. We have to spot them first. These lads, however, we can fire upon immediately, since we have identified them because they just started shooting on our guys. So we're going to select Lieutenant Koch again, and we're going to put this flamethrower into effect here. So having them all selected, we're going to left click the enemy and we're going to initiate fire. Got a nice flamethrower effect going out here, and even though we only throw 1, we got quite a decent attack value here, mostly because, of course, the amount of support weapons we have, that being the flamethrower, giving a very nice boost on close combat. So the enemy, even though they have a throw of 3, so higher than we did, we still be able to do damage, albeit the first one for no effect and the second one for no effect, so nonetheless still quite unlucky despite our best efforts. So having done that, we have to finish the turn for now, or the impulse, sorry, not the turn, and the computer passes staying hidden as much as possible, which is actually annoying me quite a bit. So I'm going to try and move up. Well, I want to try and move up my armored car, but I've spotted the enemy PRTS here. Well, since we got only a limited number of turns to actually do what we want to do, it might still be worthwhile to take the risk. So first we're going to button the vehicle. Buttoning gives a penalty for spotting and overall efficiency, but in exchange it is invulnerable to small arms fire, which of which most of the fire here will be small arms. And we're going to do an assault move. Now this is a special type of move that allows you to both move and fire within one impulse. So we are gonna move them here and move them up a bit and see if we can still fire after we arrive, and see if the enemy takes the opportunity to fire at me. The enemy is not firing at me for now, so we can fire at the enemy. The reason this anti-tank gun they have here, or anti-armor gun, is not firing is because this unit has already fired this turn. So it was already used up as fire, so there's no opportunity fire possible. So we're going to click the enemy, and even though there's a very low chance of actual effective fire with the main gun, which immediately misses, as you can see it gets penalties, or would get a bonus if the vehicle was unbuttoned. The enemy is in a stone building, so it's harder to hit. And I've also moved in the assault mode, so which also gives me a negative modifier. So our value is too high to hit, and our machine guns are firing now, which again is too low to do anything. The good thing is, as noted by the 2 times indicated here, we can actually shoot 2 times in one impulse. Although again we miss, we hit for a total value of 15, whether we needed to be below or equal to a value of 7. Which, as you can see, because of the assault move and the stone building, is actually impossible with 2 dices. So shame on me for even trying it. And trying it twice for that matter. With the enemy still remaining cautious, I'm going to see if I can spot some of them. So I'm going to select my leader unit, and only my leader unit. As you can see, I can toggle the selection of the entire group, or only some of them, by just clicking on them. The red line indicating which units are selected, which ones are not. I'm going to select my leader unit, and I'm going to click here on the spot icon. And now I'm able to select any squad where we know there is enemy, but we don't quite know where they are within that hex. So we're going to click on the enemy, and in this case on the squad of Elana, and we have a low enough number to be able to spot, and the spot was a success. So as a result, everything lights up here in this hex, and we have the spotted tag up here. Now normally a unit won't be able to do different actions within the same turn, such as spotting and then firing, but because we're going to fire directly on the unit, or on the units we just spotted, an exception to the rule is made. So now we can select everyone here, and we're going to order to fire at the enemy. We throw for 1, which is very unfortunate, whereas the defender throws for 3, giving a higher value. So no effect done. In their impulse, the enemy is immediately returning fire, although with a low dice throw as well, whereas we throw for 6, making their attack ineffective. So now I'd like to move these guys to safety now before they get hit more. One thing is the case, you cannot move shaken units closer towards the enemy, so we're going to move them back into cover and get them safe, or at least safer than they're out in the open. So having done that, we're going to press the finish button. And another enemy is revealed. They continue firing on Lieutenant Woods, but again to no effect. As you can see, the dices are the random number basically, which most games of course have, is quite important, but with common sense as keeping to cover, keeping to stone buildings, don't move and shoot too often, etc. It can definitely influence the outcome of these engagements. Mark Walker is checking in and out in the chat every now and then, working hard on the to get the snow in his on his lawn all removed, probably. Quite the weather there in the US, so I heard. We're here in the ever sunny Italy, so no snow plows for us. So we're going to select our MG squad here, and I'd like to actually try and engage the spotted squad as well. But again, we're too weak to fire for any real effect. The enemy is returning fire. And then all we have left to move is our mortar again. Again, as we're going to check the line of sight, we should actually might be able to hit these guys over there. We turn off this tool. We're going to order a mortar to fire, and with double one there is not a lot of chance that we actually do damage. Indeed, not a single effect. And we can see the big counter coming in here, fire for effect. And a new group of units has been revealed, engaging me in combat with no effect yet. Combat is surprisingly non-lethal until now. Only the first squads that moved out actually suffered some hits. And a sniper is revealed, and I'm not at all fond of snipers. They are incredibly hard to get rid of. And I don't like this at all. Okay, Broad survives. I got away quite well there because there was a fairly good chance I would get wounded. And more units start firing, although again for no effect. So everyone's dug in, everyone's in cover, so firing alone won't do an awful lot of damage. We're gonna have to move in close and do some serious damage at some point. Of course, this is to the Soviet advantage, who are the defending party in this scenario. So keeping to that cover is the best possible strategy they could enact right now. So the medic morale check is actually a success this time, making this unit no longer shaken. So this one's operational. Hopefully the the full squad will also be operational rather soon. So we're gonna have to move them out at some point. First, as you can see, every unit is dark again, so we need to get some guys spotted here and there. I'd like to really kick out these lads so I can move up again. So again, I'm going to select our friend Lieutenant Koch, and I'm going to try and spot the enemy. And again, we throw low enough dice, so we spotted the enemy, we got all the intel. We're going to select them all, and we're going to initiate the combat. And again, just for mark to show the awesome flamethrower effect. We get a very good hit, getting for a total attack value of 13. Defense value of only 8, so we get a very good chance to do some serious damage here. And indeed, we're doing just that, shaking one and wounding the enemy hero. Also pushing back one of the enemy units. So with that, we finish our turn. So no casualties yet, but some nice hits inflicted. What I'd like to do now is take a serious hit on the enemy. I'm going to move up my armored car. The guys with the anti-tank weapon are shaken, so they won't interfere. I'm going to move the assault move to move close toward the enemy and directly spotting some of them. Actually, they don't light up completely, which is probably because we are actually buttoned in at the moment, so we closed all the hatches, etc. So we are not as good at spotting as we used to be, but we are in a fairly good position to do some serious damage. What we're going to do now is we're going to turn our vehicle a bit after movement, which can be done with these buttons here. Turning them to have the front facing to the enemy. As we can see on the vehicle, it's a good time to look at the vehicle details on the counter a bit, because it's slightly more going on there than on the standard units. We got the 3 numbers here, or 6 actually, 110000. These are the armored values for the vehicle. So the top one is the front, the middle one is the sides, and the last one is the rear armor of the unit. And to the left we can see the armor values for indicating the armor values for the hull, and to the right for the turret. So the turret can have its separate armor values, which allows for quite realistic modeling of units. In this case they're the same, but for some tanks of course the armor or the hull was better armored than the rest of the tank. So all this has to be taken into account. This also means that the turret can actually be turned independently from the hull, of course. So even when you're not actually facing an enemy, the turret will turn toward the enemy you will fire upon. Right, so having done that, there are no units we can spot. Unfortunately they didn't light up, so we can't shoot at them. So we're gonna have to keep them here for now. The enemy hero, although wounded, is still firing, doing actually a significant throw, but we are well enough protected. Now I'm gonna try and use boots to spot some more enemies. We get the snipers here, and ideally I just want to ignore them. They're not close to the victory action. Of course they will do some significant damage, but getting rid of snipers, especially in these buildings, is extremely hard. I think they got a defensive bonus of like +8 or something, and I don't want to waste too much time on them. So we're going to try and spot them. We throw low enough. As you can see, the leadership value, which is the second value you can see here, actually helps for spotting. So while other units can also spot, leaders are much better at it, giving a bonus for it. And having spotted the enemy, we're going to immediately start firing. And unfortunately, a very low value, so we're not firing for any real effect. The enemy starts firing at me, also not throwing the best of dice. And we have to make a choice again what to do. I'm inclined to try and move these guys up again a bit. See how far they can get. Yeah, 3, 3. This is too much. 5. They can get into here, so let's give it a try. And we get immediately fired upon. And again possible damage, and I may have just fallen into the same trap I did earlier. I was hoping I could get out of there without any issues this time, although we do not. We can still move on though, our unit, so at least it's safe now, our half squad with the MG. The enemy is firing again at me for no effect whatsoever. So now we got these guys cleared up, we got these guys cleared up. I'd like to try and start shooting at some of them. Let's see if we got good percentages. 10%. It's not an awful lot. We're not too strong as squad. This one has a higher percentage of it doing actual fire. So let's try and fire at their core force. And no. This computer pauses again, and we are left to do. Can't fire at these guys. We can fire at these guys. We can fire at these guys who just showed up. Not an awful lot of chance to actually do serious damage, but I suppose it's better than not using them at all. 33% of spotting, which is a bit useless by itself. Oop. Left click. Somewhat better throw, but good defensive throw as well. So again, no effect. Let's see what is left to do. Got these guys. I'm not inclined. Well, I'm gonna have to move them out now anyway, since they are without friends. Probably gonna have to move them to one of the leaders now in order to get better, but there's little chance I'm gonna get them all the way there. You got no line of sight. That's very unfortunate. Ah, yes. Right. And select, pass. I was trying to see if I could still do something with that armored car, get in a better position, but of course the rules won't allow for that, punishing my bad tactics. So having done this, we have to pass again. And while I'm passing, we saw that initially the computer was passing a lot. While I am passing, they actually sometimes engage fire. And only with 3 consecutive passes, the next turn is actually called. Again, we lose the initiative roll. This is very unfortunate as we head into turn 4. None of our units can be rallied. And we got the opportunity, we haven't seen this yet, so this is quite interesting. We got the opportunity to do some opportunity fire. The enemy just moved up to north, trying to find some cover, and we can immediately engage to shoot. We're going to just try and do so, just to show you how this is done. In some cases, you got more units to fire with opportunity fire, so you can select different hexes. Again, we do very little damage, so the unit's not actually hit. For now, though, it's far enough away not to be a real danger. Now we're gonna again try and hit these guys out here. It takes way too long to clear that. Of course, they're not spotted again, so we're gonna try and spot them. Very good. I'm very lucky with the spotting rolls, actually. As useless as my fire rolls are, the spotting rolls are doing quite well. And we're going to try and fire at them, of course, with the entire group. Roll of 4, 14, doing possible damage. A lot of damage, actually. Further wounding the guy. We saw he was wounded, he got another wounded. If you get twice wounded, you basically get killed. So the hero is done for, and this hex has been cleared. Not a victory hex though, but it will allow us to focus on these lads and move up very soon, hopefully. Now we need to move up these guys as well soon. First, let's finish the impulse and see what the AI does. One of the things we haven't seen yet, but are definitely in game, is melee combat. You can have squads directly charging enemy squads in the same hex, in which case a very bloody melee will ensue. Quite difficult to predict, quite dangerous of course, because entire units can get wiped out fairly quickly. But sometimes you just need to do it, you need to take the chance, and it's a very cool feature to have in game, and it's one of those features where especially the flamethrower comes in extremely handy. So let's see, we need to move this guy up, but I'm going to wait for this now until I spotted some more units so I can actually make it fire. I'm gonna again try and spot the enemy, hoping to finally do some damage. Hit for 4. Possible damage, finally. Let's see. And no effect. And we shaken one of the units, and no effect. Not the best hit. We made one shake, but there's a fairly good chance next turn they will be rallied with the hero there present, and the for the motherland ability that the Soviets have in this game. So each of the sides have a couple of different abilities specific to that side, making gameplay less symmetrical, so giving each really their own feeling and their own playing styles. Right, so having done that, we're going to press finish. One of the German advantages, for example, is it's a small one really, but if during the initiative roll at the start of a turn, both the Soviets and the Germans roll the same dice, then the Germans win anyway. They are attacking us. They can do major damage here. I'm not at all happy with that. First one no damage, second one no effect. Come on. And shaken. Okay, they could be way worse. Such a difference. So it's up to us again to do something nice here. We have to. I can move up these guys now, so I'm going to take a bit of a risk, and I'm going to move them as close to the enemy as possible. Again, of course, with an assault move, taking them here. You might have noticed here when I keep my mouse hovering over one of these special units, this table coming up, showing a deal of numbers. These numbers indicate the various attack values, or actually chances to hit and chances to penetrate or attack power at various ranges. So the range of up to 5, there's a 7 chance to hit, and a power when actually hitting of 2. So these change, this indicates the different guns that you see in game. So anti-tank guns have different values, for example, are very good. And all the kinds of tanks have different values for that as well. So we're going to start firing at these lads. Again, we miss with our main gun. Our MG, although a great hit, the defensive roll is also very good. I'm going to try and fire a main gun a second time. We miss again, although we were fairly close. The enemy is actually moving out, moving closer to my units. See the very careful, deliberate movement through my lines, through the units that are already fighting, and trying to take the initiative. This is when the enemy knowing when to be active and knowing when to be reactive, and it really shows that Mark and his crew did a great job in creating an AI for this game. I'm going to try and react, however. Going to see if my mortar team can do anything nice. Perhaps these lads, they're without line of sight. I'm going to have to react them in some way, so I'm going to try and use my mortar groups team. So we got possible damage here due to a terrible roll, and we managed to shake the enemy. So while we don't inflicted any hits, they're actually immobilized for now because they're shaken. They won't be able to go on any offensive actions, and they are pretty much away from any help here. So there's little chance they'll be rallied soon. And in the meantime, we moved up the next unit, and this should. Let's see how the line of sight is for this guy here. This is still very good, so he can kill me here, here, and even there if needed. This is really annoying lad. He himself is only a half squad, indicated by having just one guy on the counter, but he's of course he has a support weapon of a DP-28, which is quite a capable machine gun, and not something you'd like to face. So I wanted to move up these guys, but since these lanes are covered so well, I am somewhat frightened to do it. I'm going to move my medic to my other guys, and I got the opportunity actually to fire again. The guy is moving away from that awesome position. So this is a great chance for me to take the initiative back. Let's try and fire. So what are we doing here? We get possible damage, and we do a very good roll making them shaken. So that's good. So the enemy is becoming less and less mobile. We have moved most of our units though, so we have to pause and see if the enemy starts using sees opportunity to use its snipers, which I'm still very frightful of, and a very powerful attack coming here from their lads, but we are good for now. So we're going to pause again, with them passing as well. And pass 3 leads us into the next turn. And again, we lose the initiative. I don't think we've won any initiative roll this game. And here we see the special ability, for the Motherland ability they're using. And as a result, they still don't manage to actually revive the squad, or revive it to make it unshaken, to make it ready to fight, despite the for the Motherland bonus. So that's very good news for me. Meanwhile, how are we doing with the rally roll? And we also remain shaken. Here you can see some of the other things that actually alter the value of how big the chances to recover from being shaken. It depends on the terrain you're in. If you're in cover, you get a slight bonus for that. And if you have a leader present, of course, you get a good bonus for that as well. Here the enemy has moved into my hex and launched a melee combat. So we're gonna try and fight one of them, and start the melee. Get a nice graphic here showing the melee going on. And we were very successful in the roll. So we killed both of the squads attacking. This is one of the things that shows, even when you're outnumbering the enemy, how just unpredictable these melees can be. These things show really the chaos within the battle. And quite frankly, anything can happen in close quarters with such weapons. And we can see the melee tag being played up here. Again, very good news for us. The coast is now clear to move these guys up. Movement points of 6. I'm going to move them up toward the enemy. We can't fire anymore, we did not do the assault move, but we got a very good position now. Also, what I'd like to show you is one of the rules that I haven't been shown so far. When I selected this unit, when I activated this hex, all of the green stuff around it appeared. Because I selected a leader unit, all of the units directly around it are also activated. For free basically, so you can move different stacks actually within the same impulse, something which normally cannot be done. These things can even be changed, so if I were to have another leader here and I would start to move up that one in the same impulse, all the hexes around that leader would become available well. So if you plan it well, if you time it well, you can make some pretty powerful combinations attacking in one go. So I can move up these guys now as well, and I'm actually quite inclined to do so. Moving them up to the rubble, giving them some nice defense. and then finishing this impulse. They're moving up again, reordering the line, having Morozov fighting there. Bloody heroes. I'm gonna try and I'm gonna have to start taking victory conditions now. We're in turn 5 already, so I need to push up. I'm gonna try and do further damage on these lads. So again, we're gonna try and use our spotting mechanic. Hopefully, keep lucky. Incredible. So we spotted them all, and we're gonna start firing. These guys can't join us. The German squad cannot fire because they're shaken. The rest are firing though, and with a good roll, we managed to shake another squad. We managed to inflict casualties on another squad, making a full squad here, a half squad, while still shaken. So very successful altogether. We can even directly continue with these lads, because again they're within this green circle, so I can do that in the same impulse, something that should not is not traditionally possible. Again, I throw double 6 when I should throw as low as possible, and I throw low when I should throw as high as possible. So no damage. We're going to try it again. Again, the 2 times on the counter says I can fire the main gun 2 times and actually score a hit this time. And let's see how much of a hit it is. And it's not much of a hit. So with that, we finish this impulse. One of the other things I could have done this impulse, instead of using my squad of words to actually fire on the enemy here, I could very well have tried to engage these guys in melee. Shaken units in melee pretty much are surrendering immediately, so it's a good way to get rid of the counters in the field if you're quite afraid they will rally at some point. Right, now we're going to use our mortar again. Can also hit these lads here. Let's see what the chances are of hitting these lads. 10% and a 0%, which is pretty useless really. We're going to just use our mortar again and try and see if we can get another lucky hit on these guys. Again, left click, we can see some nice explosions here indicating mortar strikes coming through. Although we fire for no effect. Computer passes their turn. As you can see here, I tried to move up these guys towards one of the leaders to see if they can be rallied at some point, but we can see the tooltip showing up. As soon as we click, shaken units are not allowed to move towards the enemy. So we're not allowed to go there. So we'd have to recall our leaders, get them all the way back to recover them, and that would simply take too long. So having done that, we're going to click on select all, we're going to pass. The enemy will probably pass as well, and with that we're going to kick off the next turn. Again, the Soviet Union wins the initiative. Using the For the Motherland ability, they hope to rally some of their units. The hero is rallied, unfortunately, and the same goes for their full squad with the DP-28 attached, and for the half squad as well. All of them rallied. That's very unfortunate on my part. Fortunately though, my squad's rallies as well. One thing we haven't seen yet in this game that is definitely possible is that we can actually exchange the support weapons like GMG 34 between units. More so, we can actually pick up weapons dropped by the enemy. So in the Russian campaign or in the Soviet campaign, you will be able to pick up Panzerschrecks of units you destroyed, MG42s, etc. Right, so I'd like to move up these guys to this building over here, and let's see though if with the line of sight tool if he's able to spot this guy. This lad, no. So I should be able to move Lieutenant Koch over this hex through this building relatively safely. This line of sight tool is extremely useful, and you should really um, make use of it whenever you're in doubt. I prefer to do an assault move here, so I can still hopefully fire when I reach the destination. And I can't fire on these lads because they're not spotted, and they didn't take the opportunity to fire at me, which I'd secretly hoped for. Or these lads is actually one guy, it's the hero only. So I'm gonna take a shot at this half squad here, again with the flamethrower directly over the enemy. So even though I only throw for 3 with all the bonuses combined, I can do serious damage here, inflicting casualties, taking out the squad, leaving here the machine gun stranded. So if I were to move in a squad now that wasn't carrying a maximum amount of support weapons, I would be able to pick it up and use it for myself. It's a very cool feature to have in. So having done that, we finished this impulse. And the enemy that was shaken is moving into our south, and we get the opportunity to fire at it. Ideally, we're going to have to really push through that, guys, at some point, but I'm very disheartened by these all rallying. So I'm going to just take the opportunity and see if we can. We can also do it with our gun, actually. I'm using the hotkeys here to switch between the units that have the opportunity to fire. So I'm thinking what would be the best option. I think I'm going to try and do it with my gun. So Words itself is still able to do some movement later on in this turn. So I'm rolling the dice as I'm missing. And the MG is not doing a lot either. So no use for that. I'm going to give them some more fire with the mortar. Again, for no effect. Computer passes. It's a tough call, really. I'd like to get these guys start shooting, so there's a better opportunity for me to move up my guys towards their line. I'm going to try and spot the enemy. 33% chance, 33. So that's today 16%. So we're going to try and spot the hero here. The spotting fails, so that's useless. In that case, we're going to just move up these lads. And bring them in closer. Alright. Again, we managed to spot the enemy. We're engaging in fire. For no effect. And the time is really ticking here, guys. We're at turn 6 of 8, and I should actually move my guys over to this victory axe at some point as well to claim it officially. I mean, we're close to their lines, and we almost had them here, but in one turn they managed to rally all, which is fairly unfortunate. So we're finished. The enemy opens fire on me again. With a 6. That's not good at all. Although we managed to avert any taking damage by rolling a 4. In case you're wondering, this is one of the smaller maps available. There are a lot bigger maps. There are maps with, of course, with tanks, artillery pieces, or field artillery pieces like field guns, etc. We got our mortars here. There are half tracks. There are all kinds of vehicles included, trucks as well. So you got a whole bunch of units. Basically, all the units common during the Stalingrad campaign are in here with figures that make you play them like they were used historically. So I'm really contemplating my moves here, what's best to do. I've moved all of these units. These guys are pretty much useless, so I'm done for this turn. And again, we get the opportunity fire, and this is a very good one actually. But with only a roll of 2, chances of doing lots of damage are non-existent. And they're moving up here. They're actually taking, or being able, getting into position to take the machine gun here. And we're going to pass through, and we're going to get into turn 7. And finally, I win the initiative roll, giving me the first move. Our units cannot rally here still because they're without leader. But we get the first activation. Now this target here is very juicy, obviously. On the other hand, I have only 2 turns left, and I need to get all these 4 spots. So I'm much more inclined to try and move through here. Let's see how their line of sight is from this position. They can see this, they can't see this. These lads of course can see here or here. So I'm gonna try to take some risk and move here. We spotted the enemy, they started firing upon us. And now, because we use an assault move, we can actually unleash on the enemy with flamethrowers at close range. Causing casualties, and the squad retreats out of sight. So that was very good, clearing the line. Now we have to, we're going to finish this.